Turkmenistan getting away with being a crazy dictatorship on par with North Korea after 1991. And this honestly is not talked about enough. That dude is so wild, he put up a statue of his own dog. I mean, I guess I gotta admit, I feel like I would do that as well. I guess on an even crazier note though, he did decide to rewrite the entire calendar year to rename months, days, weeks after family members. Or I guess it's just all the months have been changed around. Russian weather, British waters, and Afghan mountains, all pointing to each other like we are all considered the unconquerables. I actually did not even realize these three have so much in common. Legislators on their way to make a law that would make a person criminal if he holds a salmon suspiciously. I mean, can you blame him? That's a pretty big sign of insanity if you're holding a fish in a weird way. I feel like just holding a fish in an abnormal environment is probably a jailable offense. We're referring to the Salmon Act of 1986 from the UK. It is illegal to handle salmon in suspicious circumstances. I mean, I feel like I agree, but should it be a law? I don't really want to see people holding salmon suspiciously either. You know, I mean, if that's what you want to do. I want to be a historian when I grow up. It will be so fun to dig for all the clues. Actually, an adult now, we have no idea if this old Sumerian king is a legend or if he was real, but he was probably exaggerated anyways and only controlled a few villages in one city, and we'll probably never know. Okay, way to completely destroy my dreams. That's pretty much how you turn everyone into Squidward. The US watching two of their allies fight over some crappy islands in 1982. Oh yeah, that was probably a pretty awkward moment for them there for a second. I mean, in a way, the US did have that whole Monroe Doctrine, pretty much saying they would protect North and South America. It feels like this was a perfect example for why this was written, a foreign policy position that opposes European colonialism in Western Hemisphere. I guess the key word here is potentially a hostile act against the US, and the US was pretty cool with the UK at that time. The ALD Alliance is perhaps the oldest alliance in the world, says Scotland. What a beautiful friendship, responds France. 700 years, they add. Maybe even more, chimes in Scotland. Wait a minute, who the hell were those guys wearing kilts at Waterloo? Oh, wait, maybe there's a small asterisk to this. This really was a team that was formed all the way back in the 13th century between Scotland and France, obviously against England. However, there is one small footnote with thousands of Scottish troops fighting in the British's army. Let's just pretend like that part didn't really happen. Fortunately, this is one of those alliances that is close, but not quite at the level of England and Portugal. It is said they've been friends for even longer. India is saying, we made this, referring to the decimal system. You made this, responds Arabia. Cool, as they hold it in their hands. Wow, you made this, says Europe out of nowhere. I think it's just best to not respond, although that's probably how we got ourselves in that situation. There was a couple civilizations that had discovered zero. I think this is always going to be a complicated matter. East Asian mathematics. A merchant spent more than he earned, he made a negative profit, or also known as a loss. Meanwhile, European and Middle Eastern mathematics. How can you have less than zero things? Aligned with negative length? Absurd. Negative results have no real meaning. I must rearrange equations so I always get a positive result. There is no easier way. Once again, numbers are just hard. Don't get me started with that stuff. The Art of War, a book that basically says 2 + 2 equals versus Karl von Clausewitz on war. It's basically a math formula. Well, a more complicated, way more complicated math formula. At this point, I don't even know what this Chinese general said. I've just been thrown off so much by the memes at this point. Who even knows what he was actually talking about? The Wikipedia article for Poto, 8 O's specifically. Or you could also say pot 8 O's. Potatoes. He was an 18th century thoroughbred racehorse who won over 30 races and defeated some of the greatest racehorses of all time. He is basically known for his unusual name for basically the word potatoes. I don't know why I always laugh when animals are named Potato. Like, is there a better name for anything? Probably gonna name my son Potato. Germans, after WW2, realizing they can go on holiday in France without invading it. Wait, what? Is this how we finally stopped all the world wars? We just informed the German people, hey, you can visit here peacefully if you want to just take a vacation. You don't got to take it over. Everything changed after that. Studying David of Michelangelo, and boy, can you really see a difference between the original and a David copy from Minneapolis. Anyway, just wanted to mention this since I don't know who else to talk to about this. Why is there a copy of this in Minneapolis? That's the question I need to figure out. Why would this US city feel the need to do this? You're making us all look bad over here. Taxation without representation. You got lucky, traitors, responds Britain. We beat you up. You suck. We know, responds Spain to their colonies. They don't even try to fight them anymore. I mean, I guess they know that they can't even do that. That didn't work out for them last time. I do find the relationship that the UK has to all its former English-speaking colonies very interesting when you compare that same thing to Spain and Latin America. There are some similarities, but also a whole lot of differences. Meanwhile, there's like Portugal and Brazil. I don't even know what that's all about. My child, think about the collateral damage and plan accordingly. Meanwhile, MacArthur, sea of irradiated cobalt. Cobalt or colbait?
Cobalt.
Oh, cobalt, okay. Yeah, I'm pretty sure El Diablo himself was a little bit confused by MacArthur's logic here. He was pretty much just going to nuke North Korea into oblivion. Why would you do that? And how is that a good idea? Japan saying, this is not funny. You didn't nuke Germany. Okay, well, you're the one who fricked with my boats. Well, I mean, to be fair, US, Germany also fricked with your boats, just in the Atlantic, different ocean, but okay, let's not look too deeply into the logic there. Welcome to the gang, kid. Oh, looks like this gang is called NATO. We've got amazing Albania, persistent Poland, all frightening Finland. What did frightening Finland do? He utterly embarrassed my arch enemy. Well, I guess for that's how he got the cool name. And believe it or not, frightening Finland was like the dude that just showed up to this gang initiation like 5 minutes ago. Like they just joined NATO. The US has been wanting that guy to join for a long time too. POV, you're a sailor in the 1500s. And this exactly explains Spain and Portugal's philosophies on their colonies. It was just to like, how do I phrase this? Maybe it's best that I just don't. Britain with its colonies, that photo pretty much summarizes it. France with its colonies, I'm God, okay? Belgium with its colonies, Falco, punch! Meanwhile, Spain with, okay, yeah, that was just their philosophy about the whole thing. I don't know. Big update on some monarchies in Europe. The Norwegian king kneeling for the rightful ruler of Norway, Queen Margaret of Denmark. I'm not sure if this man wanted him exactly to be doing the kneeling, but I don't know. Maybe he was a big fan of the Danish-Norwegian Union back in the day. He just doesn't want to fall under Sweden again. Okay, but for reals though, why are so many world leaders falling as of recently? What is up with this? Let's sign the peace treaty at 11 a.m., says this baguette man. 11-11-11 sounds so cool, responds Germany. Very awesome. Here are all the major powers during World War I coming together to finally initiate that peace deal. Oh, wait a second. The Western Front, 5 minutes before they actually sign it. The war is finally gonna end in 5 minutes. Can we please stop fighting? They scream. No. Now charge or you'll be arrested for treason. And, yeah, this was sadly really how it was. All because they thought the numbers sounded cool. Guess that's the price you pay for swag. Oh, speaking of which, no, war is bad. People oof and stuff. Meanwhile, there's this man describing his experiences in the First World War as, frankly, I had enjoyed the war. It was a jolly good show. There's obviously a reason that we don't talk about that, but there's definitely a lot of people out there just having a complete blast. They just enjoy the complete chaos. I'm good though. I'd rather not. The Entente rewarding countries with former Austro-Hungarian territory. Then there's Austria receiving a piece of Hungary. Not sure if that logic makes sense, but you know what? I'm sure Austria will take it. This is straight up on the same level as Bulgaria being on the side that lost in WW2, yet still gaining lands from that as well. This actually looks like a pretty big chunk here too you got here, Austria. People talking about Romania, of course everyone focusing on everything about Vlad Dracula. Meanwhile, literally everything else about Romania just drowning back here. And it's literally been the same way for centuries, like everyone's just focused on Dracula. Romania probably despises the whole vampire craze. Mongol soldiers tasked with concealing the burial site of Genghis Khan. Meanwhile, here's another group of soldiers. How else did you think we were going to contain the burial site of Genghis Khan? We had to get rid of him. And just for a safe measure, just to add a little bit to it though, just in case like, you know, the first guy ended up yelling to the second guy, yo, we buried him over here. Argentinians pulling up to the Falkland Islands thinking nothing was gonna happen. Wait, this absolutely slaps. Is this really Argentinian music? I love this. Oh, they are actually from Santa Fe. I didn't realize Argentina has cumbia. Haiti screaming, all right, get lost, all of you, to the British, the French, the Germans, except you stay. It's the Polish! And part of the reason for that is because the Polish helped Haiti get their independence. You can stay on the island as long as you helped us get our independence. That makes sense. We need a lighthouse on Eddystone Rock. We have to innovate due to the challenges of building a lighthouse there. There is one thing that condemned the light we didn't consider during the design of the tower. It gets destroyed by the ocean. We need a lighthouse on Eddystone Rock. And the cycle continues. This doesn't look like a fun tower to have to build on this rock. Apparently this is the 4th one they've had to do. The Midwest since the 1990s. Nothing ever happens around here. Think of starting a metal band just to oof some time, I guess. Meanwhile, the Midwest in the 1830s. My wife didn't make it last night. She said she couldn't handle the isolation and constantly howling winds. Sometimes I think God never intended us to inhabit these lands. I see kind of a theme here though. I mean, kind of. It's the isolation. It's consistent. Is that why emo came out of the Midwest? Or at least was popular there? You know, Poland is technically a North American country. What? In the 1920s, the Canadian government gave them some land in Niagara to honor Polish troops who died there training during WW2. It's still officially their territory. Their flag still flies. There's a gated border, and the Polish president even has made an official visit. Jesse, what the freak are you talking about? No. I think Jesse's actually onto something. Poles can always escape to Canada if they need. Harry Truman, August 6, 1945. Today, bombs are going to save lives. His logic really was very similar to Dwight's logic in this scene. We've got a lot of fire, so people are prepared for the fire and how bad it can be. Gotta make sure people take fire safety seriously. How would you execute an Argentinosaurus for counter-revolutionary activity? Argentinosaurus? Regardless, this does offer a very good question. Why don't you, this could be just a giraffe. How do you guillotine a giraffe? I feel like this just isn't enough. I think you gotta go on the base here, to be honest. But then if you do that, I also think that this side is gonna be alive for a lot longer. It's just gonna act as like a giant snake. Oh, that thing is really called an Argentinosaurus, obviously, because, yeah, that's where it came from. Holy, that thing is massive. Medieval historians watching a Hollywood battle scene. No ditches? No, this is a Hollywood battle scene talking about the medieval times, not about the WW1 period. Can't expect Hollywood to get it all right. You can't even expect Hollywood to get like one thing right. Like father, like son, Theodore Roosevelt in the Spanish-American War. All right, boys, on me. You heard 'em, charge. Meanwhile, cut to the Normandy invasion in 1944. Theodore Roosevelt Jr. All right, boys, on me. You heard the general, charge. That's definitely the way to do it. You gotta lead the battle. During the Battle of Germantown, there was a brief ceasefire when a little terrier was seen wandering between the American and British lines. British General Howe's dog had gotten loose. He was taken to George Washington to keep as a trophy, but instead he took it to his tent, fed and brushed him, then formally had the little dog returned under a flag of truce. Professionals have standards. Only another reason why George Washington is absolutely based. George Washington is the equivalent of John Wick. The Mexican government, what are you guys doing in California? Russians casually building a settlement. Mind your own business. That's right, Russia briefly did have a settlement both in California and in Hawaii for like a really small moment. Obviously, they ended up just settling a lot of Alaska, but they didn't even keep that. Modern warfare, adding 800,000 men versus this guy adding 1.6 thousand men. Wait, 1.6 million men. It's a lot of men. Versus medieval warfare, these are my reinforcements. Only a few knights. We are the finest knights in all the world. That will be 10,000 pounds of gold, please. I mean, when you had a suit of armor like this, I mean, you really could take on like 50 dudes. You didn't need 1 million back then. Just one dude with some shiny drip. Italy assuming they can easily invade and control Ethiopia during the scramble for Africa. Menelik II and his forces humiliating the Italians at the Battle of Adwa. I am the king of Italy! I can't do it as good as he does. Yeah, Ethiopia just wasn't gonna take that. Of course, there was gonna be a sequel to that in WW2. When you conquer all of Persia, conquer the Delhi Sultanate, leave the Ottomans in ruins, capture Sultan, remain undefeated in battle, and become the great nomadic conqueror, and you're given the title of lame. Is this how they actually? No, there's no way they actually made his face like this, right? Or maybe they did. I mean, they literally called him lame. Okay, well, at least it's not like at the top of his, it's not at the top of his Wikipedia page. Oh, good, his face wasn't like that. But they did, unfortunately, call him, lame, I guess. Doesn't sound lame to me. And big thanks to the patrons. I am the kidnapper. I oofed Drew since no one paid his ransom. This channel's now run by AI. Australia is real. I'm Argentina. $20 is a lot true. Asher, 200, Chester, Tiny, Reagan's A Nargin, Isaiah, John Denver, KirinoIsBestGirl, the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, the Mexican, why am I doing this?